Welcome, and thank you for joining me for the resume and cover letter workshop for fashion design and fashion merchandising. My name is Ann Garoon, and I work with the Job Placement Resource Center here at Harper College. We help students and alumni to be prepared to job search successfully. We work with students to create professional resumes and cover letters, improve their interviewing skills, create LinkedIn profiles, understand the career skills employers are looking for today, and tips for a successful job search even in a difficult economy. We have many other resources on our website, and we invite you to come and take a look at what we can offer you. So without any further ado, let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about what is the purpose of a resume, how to write a resume, a bit about applicant tracking systems, cover letters, and end it all up with references. The purpose of a resume is to serve as a marketing tool, to be a way to communicate between you and potential employers and other professionals. Not only is it a way for you to express your qualifications, your skills, abilities, and achievements in a marketable format, it's also your first impression. It's how you are seen by potential employers for the very first time. And so that's why we're going to have this workshop to help you create that professional resume. A resume allows you to communicate to an employer what you can do for them and why you should be considered as a potential applicant and as a potential employee. And many people believe that resumes are only used for employment purposes. And we're finding that more and more four-year schools and scholarship programs are asking for students to have resumes as well. So if you have never written a resume or you haven't dusted off your resume in a few years, this is a great opportunity for you to make your resume into a very powerful document ready for the 2020 job search. We're going to talk about telling your story by emphasizing the 3 C's. That's being clear, being concise, and being consistent. That's all about how you write the resume, the look of the resume, and how you get your message across. So understand that a resume on the first pass through is read for about 6 seconds. So you're going to spend a long time writing this resume and polishing it up, and the people, employers are going to read it for maybe 6 seconds. And that's why it's so important that you be able to get your message out to them in a very easy to read format, because they're not going to be looking for information. They want to see it very clearly. So we're going to suggest that you start with a blank Word document. If you don't have Microsoft Office on your computer, please call the Student Help Desk here at Harper, and they can help you get Microsoft Office and other programs onto your computer at no charge. We recommend you do not use a template. Templates force you to tell your story their way. We want you to tell your story your way. Also, Google Documents can be a problem. Many employers cannot open them. We can't open them here at Harper, and when you try to transfer them from one document, from a Google to a Microsoft Word document, sometimes it's not a clean transfer. So the simplest process is to begin with that blank Word document. You're going to choose a professional size font and style. Usually 11 point is a good starting point. Styles can include Arial, Calibri, Cambria. Times New Roman is not as frequently used today, but if that's the font you like, go ahead and use it. No one didn't get a job because they used a certain font type. As we go through the rest of this information, let me tell you that I welcome you to take notes and make little notes to yourself, but also you're going to be receiving a resume checklist, and all that information will be right on there for you. A resume runs between 1 to 2 pages at the most. Some fields do allow for longer resumes. Those are more considered curriculum vitae, but for all practical purposes in today's marketplace, you want to keep your resume 1 to 2 pages. We're going to discuss how writing your resume using bullets or short sound bites To focus on what's important is the best way for employers to read that information. Also, to keep your resume looking professional, make sure the margins are at least a half inch to 1 inch. Anything less than a half inch, um, it looks very small, not enough white space. You want to have white space for the reader to rest their eye. On the other hand, more than 1 inch makes the document too much white space and makes it look empty. So if you keep between those parameters, you'll be in good shape. You're going to hear me say this very frequently, that to check your spelling and grammar and typos, because nothing gets your resume into a recycle bin faster than having spelling and grammar and typing errors. So you don't want to spend all this time submitting an application and then someone's not going to read it. So please check your spelling and grammar and don't rely on spell check. You have to do a careful proofreading job or have someone else read it for you. We're happy to always proofread your resume. You can send it to our office. Or here's a proofreading tip. Read it out loud, starting at the very end of the document, reading it backwards, and it will force your eye to catch any errors. Resumes have their own unique style, and one thing unique about them is they are not written in full sentence format. They don't use the word I. They don't necessarily have to have a period at the end of the bullet. They are not full sentences. They're usually more fragments. And so this is your voice, your story, and it's understood by the reader that you are using the word I. You want to use action verbs to show, not tell the reader what you did. These are some examples. If you have problems thinking of resume verbs, just Google action verbs for resumes and you will have more than you will ever know what to do with. You're going to use the present tense for current activities and the past tense for past activities. That gives clues to the reader where you are, what you're doing, what you are no longer doing. You're also going to list most recent events first. So be it education, employment, activities, what you're currently doing or most recently did, that's going to come first, and then you work your way historically backwards. A brief word here about applicant tracking systems. People are always talking about them. These are computer programs that are used to read resumes and cover letters, used to select candidates who best meet a job qualification. They're a screening device. We do not know what companies actually have applicant tracking systems, which ones they use, and so all we can do is teach you the best way to write a resume so that you will get through the applicant tracking system. And what the system does is search for keywords in each part of the resume. Keywords are the skills, qualifications, and experiences that are important for performing the job. You want to get those words right into your resume, as well as the jargon of a particular industry. If you use the job posting as your guide, I recommend students go through and highlight or write down the words, the skills, the qualifications, the education, the experience an employer is looking for, and bring that into the resume as part of what they have done in previous jobs. Then you're going to get the keywords in there and make it through the search. So keyword is the key. And how do you get those keywords into your resume? By targeting your resume. That's the expression we use. So it may mean that each time you submit an application, you're going to have to either tweak the resume to include what this new position is looking for, or you may have to start all over and rewrite a whole new resume. So it just depends on what's going on in that job posting. Resumes, while they do reflect where you've been, they also reflect where you're going. So if you're in a career transition, you may have to bring in some new keywords into your resume. Employers do not want to think they are getting a generic resume. They want to think that you have created a resume specifically for that job. That's what gets the person ahead in the next line. And again, using those keywords, just understanding what are they looking for, what skills, what qualifications are they looking for that you have that you can explain in your resume. We also suggest that you incorporate career ready skills. And career ready skills are these 8 skills, kind of summarized, that transcend a particular job field, but encompass all job fields. Employers tell us that yes, they see candidates who have all the technical skills, but they're lacking these career ready skills. So it's not being able to draw blood or design an outfit or set up floor. It's the broader skills that make you a good team member, that make you a good employee, that make you a good hire for a company. These include critical thinking and problem solving skills, being up to date on your digital technology, showing examples of being a leader, showing examples of your teamwork and collaboration, showing that you're a professional, that you have work experience, that you have volunteer experience, that you have global and intercultural fluency. Have you worked with different types of people? Do you have an understanding of what different types of people need to have their needs met? What are your all written communication skills? Have you written reports? Have you done public speaking? All those kinds of skills are part of your total picture, not just your technical skills, but these career ready skills as well. And many times an employer will include these in the job posting: communication skills, teamwork, and leadership skills. So it's very natural to get these into your resume. So now we're going to take a look at a sample resume. Just get a note of forewarning. It's on 2 slides here so that you would be able to see it for this presentation. You are receiving a packet from me that's going to have an entry level and experience level resume for both fashion merchandising and fashion design. So you will be able to see this on the 1 page document, as well as cover letters for both of those categories, as well as a reference sheet. So it's all going to be part of a packet that you'll be receiving. So let's start off by the resume. In this case, it is a fashion merchandising resume, but it could be anything, any topic. So we're just going to run through it. Basically, resumes contain the same information, the same headings, the same general broad categories. Um, it's just the information that's included under them changes for the specific job type. So if you look at the top of the page, you're going to see the information section. It can be centered as this one is, or moved to the left. It's never flush right because people read resumes from left to right, and you don't want to force their eye moving from right to left because then they're going to miss all the important information on the left-hand side of the page. You'll notice that the name of the student is in bold. Sometimes it's even 1 to 2 font sizes larger. It could be capitalized. It's going to want to stand out. Next comes the city, state, and zip code. Employers like to know what your commute might be, so that's why we include that. We do recommend you don't use your street address for security reasons. You should have a phone number on the resume that has a good answering system. Employers will often call you to set up an opportunity to talk. You're going to have a professional email that's hyperlinked, so all a employer has to do is click on it and we'll go back to you. Please make sure it's professional, that it's not superstar at gmail.com or rockstar at gmail.com. Either set up a new Gmail account if you need to, or you can use your Harper College email. If you have a profile on LinkedIn that's 100% complete, then you'd want to include that as well. So you'll notice here that if you've written a resume before, there's no objective statements, and objective statements have gone by the wayside. So you could just use whatever the name of the job you are applying for. In this case would be fashion merchandising. Notice that it's bold, it's capitalized, it stands out. Maybe it's 1 to 2 font sizes, again larger depending on your spacing on the resume, letting the employer know immediately what job you are applying for. This samples resume has a brief statement to kind of highlight some of the qualifications this person has. They've had some experience working in the fashion industry. They want to highlight that. If you're going to write this type of beginning, it should be at most 3 or 4 sentences, and it should contain the keywords the qualifications and skills as a summary that the employer is looking for. So you're going to next notice that the next state section is education. Education, you'll see practicum experience, you'll see experience, volunteer activities, other kinds of activities, maybe professional affiliations. Those are all called headings. They are always in bold. They can be capitalized, they can be upper and lower case, but the name of, besides your name and the name of the job you may be applying for, every other part of this resume is in the same size and font. So that does not change. What makes it look different, education look different, and relevant coursework look different, and so on, is that it's in bold. And that's what we're saying, to be consistent. So your headings should all be in bold. If they're upper and lowercase, they should all be upper and lowercase. So starting with education, you're going to put your most recent education, which is the program you're just in now. List Harper College, Palatine, Illinois, the name of the degree you're going for. Please make sure it's correctly written. This student has graduated, so it says the month and year of graduation. If you know when you're going to graduate, you would put expected, May 2022, perhaps. If you don't know when you're going to graduate, you would include the dates you began to present. Because you're starting out in a new field and may not have a lot of experience, one way you can get around that and show the employer that you have theoretical knowledge is by listing relevant coursework. And that would be any course you have taken or are currently taking. You can't put in courses you haven't taken yet, but this would be one way to show an employer some of your knowledge. This student has practicum experience, and so you'll see the name of the company they were working for, the store, where it's located, and the dates that they work. Dates are very important to an employer. They are always lined up on the right-hand side of the page. They are not in bold because while they are important, they're not that important. We want to draw their eye to the items that are really important, and they'll know where to find the dates, so you don't have to worry about that. And so you'll see here that we have created these, here's a, here are the examples of what we were talking about in terms of bullets. You'll see that they are in the past tense because the student is no longer involved in their practicum. But you'll see that each one of them starts with an action verb in the past tense, and they tell you a little story. They tell a very brief 1 to 2 sentence story about what you did, but you can get the feeling that this student restocked the store following the merchandise place and helped maintain floor displays. So you can picture them putting things back in and making sure they have enough merchandise of each type. They greeted the customers and determined their needs. And what was the result of that? They built a large customer base. So you want to present these in terms of action. What did you do? What was the result? And that's the best way to write a bullet. Now, of course, not every bullet may be able to be written that way, but try to get as many as you can. You should have at least 2 bullets under each experience, not more than 6. Then it becomes almost too much for the employer to read. Remember now that this would be following on that 1-page resume. So this would be following practicum experience. You would have experience. This person has some retail experience, but even if you didn't have retail experience, you might want to list a job you've had. That's because that's where those career ready skills come in. That's where an employee knows you know how to show up on time, be a team player, call in if you're not going to come, be a professional. So you want to include any employment experience you've had, even if you see, oh, it's not really relevant. I was, a dog walker. But again, if you were a dog walker, you had to perform certain tasks and accomplishments to maintain that job. So again, you'll see that the name of the company is in bold. Again, the city and state, the name of the job title is underneath. That could be bold as well if you wanted to. The dates that the person worked, started working to present. So these bullets are all in the present tense. And again, you'll see how they paint this picture of what the person was doing. You might have another job that you could put on here too, and that's great. Just remember, we don't recommend you go back more than 10 to 12 years on your employment history. Again, it's not your life history. That goes on the job application. It's just showing the employer you do have some practical work experience. Next section might be skills. You could computerized sales tracking systems, put your Microsoft Office skills on here. If you speak a second language besides English fluently or you're bilingual, you would include that on here. And you can include some of the career ready skills if that's what the employer is looking for from their job posting. You might drop in some of those. You can have, again, 5 to 6 skills under the skills section. Activities. Are you involved in any activities on Harper's campus or the clubs? The student was involved in the fashion club and the student activities board, so they included that. They're also including the dates that they were participating. That gives an employer an idea of, well, they were president. That shows leadership skills. They were on the student activities board, had to work as a team. Other areas you could include would be volunteer experience. That's another very familiar heading that goes on a resume. You can just, many students have worked with feeding by starving children. You just need to list the name of the organization, its location, and the dates you attended. Or you could bullet it out, just like the work experience. That would be up to you. So again, the resume is clean, it's neat, it's easy to read, it's very concise, and the format is consistent, and those are all things we're looking for. Some additional sections you might want to include licensing and certifications, if those would be appropriate. We talked about relevant coursework on this resume. Projects. Maybe you're doing a project in a class. Maybe you're doing projects as part of a club. You could include that out there. Maybe you're doing some design work on your own. You certainly could include that under employment. Awards and achievements that you feel would be relevant. Maybe you're a 1 million scholar. Maybe you are a promise student. Maybe you have been awarded some scholarship or other award. That would be another section that could go on the resume. If you belong to a professional organization, you can include that on your resume, as well as military experience. I would suggest if you have one of these categories, you get in touch with our office. We can help you kind of get that organized. You can also take a look on our website. We have over 70 resumes that you can take a look at to see how they're formatted, and almost as many cover letters. So you can use those as guides as well. So that kind of covers resumes, and we're going to move on to cover letters. Cover letters is the formal business letter that would accompany your resume. Questions that always ask is, why should I send a cover letter? Who knows if anyone reads them? And that is true. We do not know if an employer reads them or do not. We don't know if they read it before the resume, after the resume, but we do know from working with employers that many feel that it is a form of your written communication, and it also shows you've gone beyond the normal step. Most people do not send cover letters, and so if you do, it does set you apart from everyone else. We're going to teach you a really easy way to write a cover letter, so you will have no problem creating one. The only time you would not use a cover letter is if they say do not send a cover letter. One way you can, if you're applying by email, you can always put the cover letter into your email body, make that the body of the email, or you can attach it as a second document to an application. So again, it's going to be very customized, even more targeted towards the job posting than the actual resume. It's short and sweet. It's never more than a page. It's usually 3 to 4 paragraphs. It should be very professional in tone, using the same size font and font type and size as the resume. Should kind of match. We're going to talk about the 3 sections: introduction, qualifications, and closing. very important to match your skill to the job description here. This is kind of your summary of why you are the best fit for this job. And again, I'm going to remind you to proofread. So here's an example. Unfortunately, the name of the sample student is cut off here, but if the heading looks familiar, and it should, it's the same heading as you use on your resume. All you have to do is cut and paste it onto this next Word document. It's a formal letter, so it starts with the date. It has the name of the person you're addressing it to, their title, the name of the company, the address, including the city and state. You see that it's addressed to Dear Jane Smith. That's because this person knew who they were addressing this cover letter to. If you do not know who you're addressing the cover letter to, you're going to say, Dear Hiring Manager or Dear Human Resource Manager. You are not going to say, Dear Sir, Madam, or to whom it may concern. That is considered very unprofessional today. So moving on, whoever your greeting is, the first paragraph talks about the name of the job you are actually applying for, where the job is, and where you saw it posted on Harper College's online job posting system, on Indeed.com, on the company's website. Let the employer know where you saw the job. They like to know where they get their successful candidates from. And then there's a brief sentence or two here that would kind of just be your lead in. You believe that your education experience would allow you to successfully perform the responsibilities of this position. You are very interested in pursuing a career at ABC Boutique because they have a great reputation. Again, take a look at some of the other sample cover letters. Let's move to the last paragraph. And this is just another version. I'd welcome the opportunity to work for ABC Boutique. Most of our rest of these lines are how our cover letters do end. I look forward to an opportunity to discuss this position with you. Please contact me at your convenience. If you need any other information, thank you for your time and consideration. Then, however you want to sign off, sincerely, kindest regards, and then your name. You do not have to repeat your contact information again. That's the beauty. It's at the top of the page waiting for them. So the real substance of the cover letter is that middle paragraph. And this one leads off with, as you can see from my resume, recently completed, and they tell them the degree. You might say, as you can see from my resume, I'm currently working on my associate in applied science at Harper College. In addition to my coursework, I've worked in the retail fashion field for the last 5 years and gained a great deal of experience. So whatever you want to put in there, maybe you just want to say, I have a lot of great customer service and leadership skills, abilities from my work experience. However you want to phrase that. This is a resume that the cover letter is very much about you. You can even talk about your passion for wanting to work in the field. You can give them a little insight about why you want to be, work in this industry. Remember, just keep everything about a resume and a cover letter very professional. There's nothing really personal in these documents. And it goes further to say, I'd like to highlight my qualifications, which include, and these four, and you can have from 5 to 6 bullets here, highlighting your qualifications and skills. These come directly from the job posting. So if they are looking for somebody who can A, B, C, and D, and you can A, B, C, and D, you can drop those qualifications, those skills directly into the job posting. You don't have to really even change the words up that much because that's the words that the applicant tracking system is looking for, and that's the words the employer really understands because it's their language. They're asking for those skills and qualifications. You can give them right back to them. Again, if you are bilingual or fluent, meaning you can read, write, or speak in a second language besides English, we always recommend they do include that as one of your qualifications. Makes you stand out a little different. So you'll see that really it's not that hard to write these cover letters. It's worth the effort to get them written and send them in. It does make a difference. The next section we're going to talk about is references, just because we like to give you a little heads up that as you begin a professional career, you are going to have to present three professional references to your employer as part of your application process. And references are created on their own page, the same font, the same style as your cover letter and resume. You're going to see that the heading will be another copy and paste from your resume, the same information section. You only send them to employer when requested. They do not go as part of the application with the resume and or cover letter. Usually you're going to bring those references in with you when you're in the interview situation. So these references should not be family or friends. Be very careful about doing that because it's the world of social media. They can catch on, an employer could catch that right away. So who can you use? You can use supervisors, both present and past, and coworkers and instructors and people you've worked with, people you volunteered with, someone you've been on the fashion club with, anyone who can speak to your professionalism and work ethic. So I had a student once say to me, well, my boss is, I work at Target and my boss and I also go to the movies sometimes together. He's also my friend. That's fine to use him as a reference because he's not going to comment on your movie choices. He's going to comment on your work experience together. So just make sure you have professional references. We'd like to tell you now so you can start thinking about them. Just so a couple things about asking someone to be your reference. That's the key. You need to ask them. You cannot just put them down and then the employer will call them up and the person will say, who? What? So you want to make sure you politely and formally ask somebody to be your reference. The one approach is to give them your resume, say you're looking for this type of job, and that, would they mind being your reference? If they say they don't want to be your reference, please do not include them. You do not want to get a bad reference. Particularly, I'm going to give you a word of warning. If you ask an instructor or a professor here at Harper, you must ask them for permission. They are very sensitive about that, and because they get so many requests, it's really, you need to have an opportunity to ask them either in person or a phone call or an email, especially now it's a little more difficult, but talk to them about being a reference for them and thank them. Also, make sure you keep them in the loop as your job search goes on. So if you're in a situation in an interview and someone says, well, we're going to check your references, once you leave there, you should let your references know that someone from ABC Boutique is going to call them and ask for a professional reference. And of course, if you get the job and someone gave you a reference, please make sure you send them a thank you. That's really great too. People like to know they were part of your success. So a reference page, again, you're going to see that this is kind of being a problem, blank. Covering the sample page. But again, it's the same heading you use throughout all three documents. And you'll see that in the middle is bold. It says references. That's so someone will know. And you'll see all the information, their person's name, person last, their title, where they work, the address, city, state, a phone number, an email address, and what the relationship was. The more information you can give an employer, the easier it makes it to contact that reference, the smoother the process will go. So wrapping up, remember, tell your story very clearly, concisely, and consistently, and you can add a little passion to the story as well. Make sure you target your resume so that it shows the employer why you are a good fit for the job, why they should call you in. That's the job of the resume, is to get you the interview. So you want to really push that document to show why you are a good potential candidate. Use a cover letter too, with another source of a writing sample, your communication skills, and to emphasize why you are a good fit and all your qualifications. You now know the rules of references. Be polite, be professional when developing that list. And please consider using the Job Placement Resource Center and all of our resources on our website as you go through the process. We're here to help you. We are working virtually. We have appointments Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30 by video, by phone, by chat. We have virtual walk-ins. You can request an appointment by contacting the JPRC at our address or calling the office phone. If you have a resume that you want to be reviewed, you can just send it to the JPRC address, attach it as a Word document and say, I'm in the fashion merchandising class and I was part of the workshop and I'd like my resume reviewed, and we'd be happy to help you out. So it was a pleasure talking to you all today. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them again to the JPRC at Harper College. They'll get filtered to me, or you can send them to me at agaroon@harpercollege.edu. And I'd be happy to answer any questions and give you any further advice. I wish you all much success. It's a difficult time to be going to school and working towards a career, but we're all in this together and we're all going to help each other be successful. So take care of yourselves and keep in touch. Thank you.